Welcome to another edition of the Podcast Champs. Damian Salty G, along with DEO Dio. It has been a while, my friend.
It has been a while. I am here currently wearing a t-shirt that I bleached, but somehow it came out looking cooler. So, yeah.
Isn't that very 80s to have bleached or distressed or stonewashed? I think that was the term back in the day.
Yeah. So that's like the whole thing now. Like they're bringing stonewash back and all that. And I was like, that shit didn't look cool back then. It don't look cool now. But this shirt, like a Doctor Strange shirt, and now it looks psychedelic. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna fucking keep it. So yeah,
I think that's already a good shirt if it's Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But today's episode was going to be kind of like a catch me up sort of thing, but I think talking off air, we kind of just decided to do a state of wrestling type of broadcast today. So we said state of wrestling, or we said state of WWE.
Because they are two very, very, very different things.
Oh, yes. And as we were talking off air, some of us have become disenfranchised with both WWE as well as New Japan or indie promotions. So yeah. I feel like the best place for us to start is currently as now. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand in terms of professional wrestling as a fan? And what's that doing for you now, personally?
Personally, in pro wrestling, there's a lot of things that are happening that I like. Mm-hmm. I like seeing so many women wrestle. I like seeing so many people of color, especially black men of color, with various different characters and different hairstyles and different physiques. Like that is something that I have wanted to see since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I had 3, maybe 4 people out of like the 50 or 60 people that would regularly be on both WCW and WWE at the time. So I love seeing that, right? Like that's one of the things. But at the same time, then there's the stuff that I'm not really too keen on. And like, when it happened a few years ago, when there was the whole dive controversy thing with
hashtag dive.
Yep. Like at the time I was like, this is stupid. I don't know why you guys are complaining about it. But over the past year, it has gotten to the point with some of the stuff where it is like, okay, like, can you really call it theatrical combat? Because the stuff's not even combat anymore. Like a lot of the moves look cool, but there is like ergonomically and like if you know how fighting actually works, it's like this is dumb. Like if you do a Spanish fly off the top rope, that's going to crush your sternum. Like
yes,
you're gonna get it worse than the person that's landing on their back. Like it's there's a lot of this stuff where it's just like and I'm not like an old curmudgeon, but it's like, and I like, this is somebody that loves like, Hong Kong wire work and stuff like that. Like I love over the top nonsense. I grew up on Power Rangers and all that other stuff. So like, but it's like on the indies, especially where it's like, it's more so than even a spot fest. Like, the fact that 2 dudes will get in the ring and it's like, automatically, this is awesome. And it's like, they haven't started yet.
You know what? Thank you, because I'm going to jump in really quick.
Yeah.
I can't, for the life of me, stand now the "this is awesome" chant.
It's terrible.
And I have become the guy that will say, no, it isn't, after someone says this is awesome. Because I remember I rewatched, I think it was Elimination Chamber 2016, where the Shield met the Wyatts.
Right.
And yes, before they even tangled, the anticipation was awesome.
Right.
But now it's you do 2 moves, as you said. You do a Mexican arm drag,
right,
mixed with I guess a hammerlock.
And then a kip up.
Yeah. And then you hear wrestling,
right?
Or this is awesome 5 minutes into the match. And I don't want to sound like Jim Cornette, but people really need to reevaluate
right
what their term of awesome is, or what their definition of awesome is. Because
Yeah,
me just putting you in an arm drag, is that really awesome?
right. Like and that goes back to the whole, is it really combat theater anymore? Because there's not, like, an arm drag isn't really going to do anything in a real fight. Like, it's not, and like, so I watch battle rap as well. So you have this thing amongst folks who the top 10 people, right? They'll come in and they will simply say, like, there's one guy, Averb. He'll show up and speak into the microphone and just say, "Hey, yo," the crowd will be like, "Oh my God." And it's like, he hasn't said shit. His round could be trash. Y'all don't know. But all of us, but it's like the same thing in pro wrestling. You have people that are bigger fans of the performers than they are of wrestling. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I've come to realize more recently, especially since stan culture is so prevalent within pro wrestling. And here's the thing: if you want to stan, that's fine. That's it is what it is. Stans existed before the term was coined and before Eminem came up with the song. Like, stans have been around since the Beatles. So like, right. But like, you'll have folks that will go to these shows that, like, they're just there to see one or two people. Don't really care about, like, somebody else could have, two other performers could have a far superior match, but right. They got to see their guy or their girl, and that's all they're really there for. And like, which that's why it ties back to that "this is awesome" thing. So you have two people that you like, and they haven't even started to tell a story yet, and automatically y'all are already saying this is awesome. That's just it's disingenuous. And it gives the people that are like booking the wrong idea. They're going to continue giving you stuff like this, but you're going to get tired of that after a while. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you are going to get tired of that after a while. And that is why I've been saying longest time, this is why you have to bleed the indies every couple of years. You have to bleed the indies so that new blood can come through and give new things, bring in new aspects to the game.
Well, I feel that's what, I guess, in a sense, what WWE has been doing the last couple of years is kind of bleeding the indies. When you look at essentially,
did we go? Let me save some bandwidth. Breaking up. Yeah, you were just breaking up just now. So sorry. I didn't hear anything you said the past minute or so. But
that blows. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay.
So basically what I was saying is that NXT kind of seems like it's bleeding the indies.
Yeah.
Strictly for the fact of, if you're a known talent, if you're a known name, then you might as well get signed by NXT. So then it's doing exactly what you said, bleeding the indies, giving new talent a chance to shine. Mm-hmm. And then what? Now we get to see the same old, same old? I hope not.
No, like, and so this is why I think bleeding the indies is important, right? And this is one of the issues that I've had with the elite the past few years, is because so they've become the kings of the indies, right? And
supposedly,
right, but so you have people basically only want to stand to like the top 4 or 5 people, and it's getting very stagnant at the top. The type of matches that are having getting stagnant, the stories that they're doing, it's very stagnant. Like, it's like stagnation is never good, right? Like, if we're talking like from a biology standpoint or an ecological standpoint, when you have stagnant water, that's never good. Mosquitoes, bacteria, all types of other things. That's what happens in stagnation. Same thing with blood. Your blood, like, say you get like a blister or something like that, and the blood just stays in there. It's not good. Gotta lance that shit, because otherwise bacteria, viruses, so on and so forth, infections can get in there. Like, stagnation is never a good thing, right? So on the indies, it's the same thing, because when you have the same dudes doing the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again, you're gonna get the same crap everywhere you go to. It doesn't matter what show it is, they're gonna end up giving you the same types of matches, and like it's just, and then also it doesn't give anybody else a chance to shine, right? So
wait, let me ask you a question now that you brought that up. Who fits that mold what you're describing? Because it seems like you there's probably 2 or 3 people that do the same spots every single match,
right?
So I don't want to call it the 5 moves of doom, but I feel like everybody does that.
Yeah, no, like everybody's got 5. So like this whole thing of like when folks said Cena has 5 moves of doom, everybody does. Like the indies as a whole have a 5 moves of doom. Like you're gonna see like the same. So you're gonna see a tower. Right, you're gonna see. I call it the TNA towers because that's when it started. Like you're always gonna see a tower of TNA, right? You're always gonna see, arm drag, backflip, drop kick, kip up, look at each other. This is Rosa. No, you're gonna see that every single event, right? Like you're gonna get like those same exact things all the time, and it's just like this is. What is this? But like, so say for instance, like, so you always have the folks, since we were talking about the dive earlier, was like Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has a whole lot of moves that he does, right? But he spams those things. He spams it like he's playing video games online. And like for me, coming from like a combat sport fan point of view, none of this stuff looks like it hurts. None of it looks like it would be in, like, that's the key with pro wrestling. It's supposed to look like it hurts, but it's not supposed to hurt, right? This stuff doesn't even look like it hurts, right? Like he'll do, so like, say for instance, like he'll do like that tornado, like spin kick to the person on the ground. Doesn't look like it hurts. When Mako Satomura does that shit, it looks like it hurts.
Man, listen, don't even get me started on her, dude. Like, she needs to be signed now. Like,
I don't want her to sign. Nah, I don't want her to sign. I want her
then have her in America more often at other indie shows. Then
I want her to train. I want her to come in and train the women down in, not even the women, everybody. Yeah, like she, like, but even like how you have folks that have actual combat backgrounds. So like Xia Li, like when she did something similar, right? It looked like it hurt. And it's fine. Like if you have a certain 5 moves or whatever it is, right? Just make them look effective. And that's the thing about the indies that I'm not too keen on, is like you have all of these things where it's just like not too much of this looks good, right? And like you're gonna get the same. You're gonna get somebody pile driven on, the hardest part of the ring, as they say. You're gonna get all these things, and it's like, it's sure that looks like it hurts, but it's like were we gonna get this in every match? Everybody's doing this stuff, like and
it's almost as if it's an advertisement for Botchamania at that point,
right? Yeah, and like that's, and like I was saying with the whole thing of bleeding the indies, is like, so when a lot of them get to NXT, and this is why I like NXT so much, even though I canceled my network subscription because fuck blood money. It brings people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different, a lot of things. And it meshes things together really well. Like the person who I still think has the most star power out of anybody in NXT is Bianca Belair, and she would reach an untapped market that the WWE does not understand in any way, shape, or form. They kind of get it with Naomi, but like Bianca Belair is like, she's got crossover potential that is through the roof. Right. But like, so you have somebody like Bianca Belair grew up doing track and field and did CrossFit competition, right? So then you've got a Keith Lee, who just is a professional wrestling background, to They signed one of the, I believe he's Kiwi from was a rugby player. Like, you have all of these different things, and they bring these different aspects, even like AOP, who are now the champions. Like, I forgot, was it Razor or I forgot, one of them. He was a mixed martial artist before.
I think it's the light skin one. I think it's
Akam. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, like you have all these different people, and they all bring a different intensity. They bring a different, like, it's good, you know, yes. Like, it's a good thing. And you have people from all these different walks, and you have trainers that actually seem to care, right? And I'm not saying that like people that train on the indies don't care, but when you actually have like a state of the art, you know, place where you can actually try stuff out, you know, you have all of this stuff at your disposal, that makes better performers. Like,
if that's the case, for instance, if we say that kind of training makes better performers, mm-hmm. then why hasn't the WWE produced homegrown talent from the Performance Center aside from Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, you know, anyone who wasn't on the indies prior? Who else? Braun Strowman? Like, those three come to mind of homegrown, never touched the indies a day in their life.
Because, but so one of the things of pro wrestling, of course, is the theatrical portion mm-hmm. of it, right? You have to be in order, you know? So sadly, folks from like, I love Apollo Crews or Uha Nation, but he has the personality of
a tuna fish,
of a wheat thing. Like, it is, and like, I want him to, like, being of Nigerian descent, I know there's so many different things that he could pull into that character from Nigerian culture, and like that would make him shine. But you know, and that's one of those things. Like, some people have it, some people don't. Like, no matter what you do, I don't care how much you go in there and try to improve on promos. Yes, you can make improvements, but to become great, most people just have to have it. Right. Kevin Owens is the best example of that. Kevin Owens could do a back and forth promo with a carton of milk. That shit would be amazing.
Did you just say a carton of milk?
Yes. There aren't too many people like, but how many other people on, you know, in signed to WWE can actually do that? Can actually like have really great promo skills that can go off the cuff like that? It's not too many. The Miz, you know, true. and like the Miz has been a professional wrestler as far as like character goes since when he was on the Real World.
Yes.
So for those of you guys that don't know, since if you were too young, it might have been in elementary school back then. The Miz was once on the show called The Real World on MTV. Oh, it was the first reality TV show.
Was that the first one?
I believe so.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I believe so. As far as from like that format, I believe The Real World was. But anyhow, back to some people have it and some people don't. So, you know, that's why, you know, since they have 205 Live and other things like that, so you have that performance. So they've got a program that is performance based now. Mm-hmm. You have the main roster that is, you know, it's a watered down version of just about everything mashed together. NXT is a little bit more story driven, but it's also developmental, something that people tend to forget.
Air quotes.
It is the developmental brand. So, like, you know, some people have it, some people don't. And when it comes to homegrown talent, we always got to remember it's who you give opportunities to, right? So look at who they've given opportunities to. A lot of the people that have been called up were given opportunities simply because of an aesthetic as opposed to a full body of work, right? Apollo Crews, what did he do in NXT that warranted him to be on the main roster? Nothing. Zero. Finn Balor, absolutely. Right? Mm-hmm. Samoa Joe, absolutely. Right? You have all these things like they not just like they proved that they could cut promos, have amazing matches, had great personality. Apollo Crews just had a good physique. And we know Vince likes him a muscular black man.
Titus, another one.
Yep. Yeah. Who in the same stable, no less. Like
R-Truth, been around for 90 years. Yeah,
exactly. He loves him a buff, dark-skinned man. My goodness, he had like Vince McMahon has the same taste in men that a lot of black women do. So like now, aside from that, like you have a lot of times where they'll like, you know what, I just see something in them. It's like, okay, I understand seeing potential, but unless it's proven, that's why I think a lot of it's just kind of because they picked people on aesthetic as opposed to actual connection with the crowd, character, proven that they could carry programs and things of that nature, right?
So okay, so right there, we're going back to the old argument of aesthetics over talent.
Right.
Now, you and I have been proponents of flipping that on the other side of the narrative.
Right.
But it doesn't seem, well, let's take it out of WWE. I don't see that changing anytime soon because if you really pay attention, Galloway's the next guy that they're trying to position based on what happened this past week on Raw, where he made Angle tap clean.
Yeah. So, which I like Galloway too. He is.
You know what?
McIntyre is great.
I've been kind of meh toward him back in the Indies when I saw him a couple of times.
Yeah.
The dude is massive.
That is a gigantic man. Human being.
Yes, he's gigantor come to life in terms of physique and presence.
Right.
But in ring, I've never been fully invested in him. Yeah. But I can see why they want to push him probably a little bit before Braun. I can see that because he actually has wrestling ability
and has mic skills. Braun sucks on the mic. I don't care what anyone says. He is terrible on the microphone. Him and Baron Corbin have that same thing where they're standing there and then it clicks in their mind, oh, I have to go in character. So that like Baron Corbin, when he puts on this weird semi-black scent when he starts talking, and it's like, dude, just fucking talk. Because every single time that you have been on like up, up, down, down or anything like that, you are a very personable person. You have a huge personality that is like could go as a heel or a face. Yes. Why are you putting on this weird character? Braun is like, I'm so tired of the get these hands things. I am so tired of hearing him scream that every week. I am so damn tired of it. But so as you were saying, aesthetics over talent.
Right.
And that's always going to be a thing.
Yeah, I know. And we're trying to flip that as fans.
Because here's the thing. When it comes to human nature, especially in Western culture, right? We are taught from a very early age that aesthetics is important, right?
Yes.
And like one of the things that men in wrestling Twitter love to do, they love to bag on women who are fans of certain like guys because of their physiques.
Mm-hmm.
We got to shut the fuck up about that because one, we are fans of dudes because they are handsome and have great physiques too.
Right.
That is the whole thing. Like you live vicariously through these characters. Like you might not have a sexual attraction to them, allegedly for some of y'all, because you know what I'm saying? I know some of y'all are, but it's like just admit that is something that you care about because it is. It's human nature. You've been taught for so long that you want that the handsome or the pretty person is good, right? Like that's who you want to strive for, like you want the Captain America types, right? You want all of these things. So yeah, like the sooner people realize that like the culture as a whole of fandom will become better. But yeah, back to what you were saying. Sorry.
That's fine. That's what we do here, man. So we're trying to flip it as fans.
Right.
So let's put WWE and their optics over here on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
On the right-hand side, you and I have the indies, which we were talking about before, about purging it sometimes to get some fresh faces. I feel that as professional wrestling fans, I enjoy a good promo.
Yep, I do.
And I feel as if the indies are kind of lacking in terms of good promo skills. And maybe that depends on the promotion, because if you're running one of those, we'll just bring all-star person A, B, and C into like a super indie and there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no storyline purposes. It's just fun match after fun match after fun match. Fine, there's no mic skills.
Right.
But if you are a indie promotion and you want to build storylines, please I'm begging you, have them take an acting class.
Right.
Have them take an improv class.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, this job here with the microphone, if it wasn't for me doing improv theater when I was 16, I probably wouldn't be as fun on the mic as I am right now. So I can attest to that kind of stuff. I've done acting, I've done voiceover, so that thusly makes my performance a little bit different.
Right.
But if you are, let's say, Ricochet,
right,
he's the poster boy of this. On the indies, didn't have to speak, just did flippy shit.
Yep.
But if you heard most of his promos,
they were NXT, bad. No, his promos when he was on the indies, which were few and far between, trash. Right. Straight up.
Basura.
It was bad. But, and like, so staying on him real quick, he is the type of person that he has to be in a program with somebody that can pull that out of him. Right. And when he was in the program with Velveteen Dream, who is like a savant when it comes to promo skills.
Yes.
That man is like, he was born to do this.
Mm-hmm.
When they had their program, he brought the best out of Ricochet. You have some people that can elevate people to their level, right? Ricochet has to be in, like, he's not going to learn all of a sudden how to have this massive persona. He doesn't have the voice for it. Mm-mm. You know, he's very much like Bailey, right? Bailey has this thing, and Steve Austin brought it up. And when he brought it up to her, right, it all clicked, right? And he said, you don't look like you actually believe in your character, and you don't know what your character actually is. And she just kind of paused. It was like, yeah. And I was like, damn, that makes sense. It was the same exact thing for Ricochet. When he starts on these promos and stuff, it's like, he doesn't believe it, Right. And when you don't believe it, we don't believe you. You need more people. So like like on the indies, most of the time when you have these folks that are doing 3 and 4 shows a week, having to drive from place to place to place, they can't cut promos all the time. Just the nature of the beast of most of the indies. People like CM Punk and like Kevin Owens and Colt Cabana that had their own little web shows and stuff that they were doing and releasing DVDs and stuff like that. They got it. They understood, like they were essentially setting themselves up for the big stage later on down the line. Right. And a lot of these folks that do that now don't necessarily have that. Right. Like I like what Shane Strickland's doing. Shane Strickland they have their little his podcast on the side, and cuts promos and stuff like that on. He's good. He's really good. Like for when he was Killshot and I didn't know to who he is now, if he ever gets signed, I hope some way that they can keep that Shaka Khan song. My God. But
the very least, do what they did for Sandman that one night at One Night Stand and let him come out to it at least once.
Just because it's magic. It is magic.
And also really quick, and I do love Shane Strickland, and I'll talk about him in a second. What do you think of Riddle's debut NXT theme?
I was confused as fuck.
Were you?
Like I was confused. At first I was confused about it, but then at the same time I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense. He reminds me of when I went out to California the first time and I met bros. That was the type of music that they would roll up, bump into. So it makes sense with context to the culture of bros.
So wait. They were jamming to the 213?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you would have folks that would jam to, like they would pull up in, their Jeeps or whatever car that they have, bumping like the most gangster, like Oakland music possible at the time. Like at that time it was like Mac Dre. This is way back. That was my first time meeting them, was like early 2000s. And like, that was like, okay, this makes sense. And it's a very much bro culture tends to do that. They love black culture, but I'll stop there. But
I get what you're saying with that. But I guess that was the closest thing they could have got to regulate.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, wait, you should have just had regulate, but it's fine. It is what it is. I like it. again, it reminds me of old school Nate Dogg and Warren G type stuff. So
right. I was like,
some Dogg.
It was like if you have no context to who he is and that he's the bro and all this stuff, you'd be confused as fuck coming into it because like, who is this white boy listening to like
to LBC music?
Right, but it's like, oh, but it makes sense. Like looking at it after I was like, yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
Yeah. But going back to Shane Strickland really quick, I enjoy his work.
Yeah,
his selling is almost on RVD levels of selling death. He sells death really well. He will also, I've noticed, and this is something that's lacking in a lot of independent wrestling performances, as well as WWE, is continued selling throughout a match.
Right,
fatigue. Yeah. People don't sell fatigue well
at all.
Because I can tell you, I've seen a lot of people that running rope spot where I chase you into the rope, I knee you. Right. I run away, you chase me, and you hit me with a clubbing forearm. Right. And you're not exhausted. You're literally just waiting for me to move so you can follow me in. That irks me to no end. But Shane Strickland pulls that off very well. So when he gets DDT'd, he looks as if he's been spiked, like RVD used to do. And that is such an underrated. And I think I wouldn't be surprised. Well, man, I was thinking about ceilings for a second here. Mm-hmm. I can see Shane Strickland being an RVD level push talent.
Yeah.
But I also can see him going beyond that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because he takes his promo seriously.
Exactly. And like the only thing that I don't like about Shane Strickland, and I've told him this on Twitter and he's responded to me about it. He takes some risks that he should not be taking, that I don't think anybody should be taking in their careers on the indies. Like the death match. Yeah, when he did the death match and like his fiance at the time, I think it was like still picking glass out of his back.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
a week later. No. Like one, just as a black man, knowing how we heal when it comes to scars, that's gonna look bad. Like it's gonna look real ugly with the shirt off. That's one thing there. But like also it's like, yo, like that's like when you have Jimmy Havoc saying nope to that spot, you know the shit's bad, right? But but yeah, he has intangibles that when you see him, it's like, okay, like that he's got like you don't really see it in Lucha Underground because Lucha Underground he plays a very specific character. But when he's not on Lucha Underground, like when he was teaming with Keith Lee on the Indies for that period of time, like
they were fun.
They both have a swagger about them where it was like, okay, they're both going to be huge at some, down the line, right? And like you see some of the homegrown talent, like you were saying with the WWE, Montez Ford is one of them.
I love him. I love his work, dude.
Love him so much. Like he is great. Him, like that might be the most talented couple, one of the most talented couples in pro wrestling, like the most potential. Like him and Bianca Belair, it's ridiculous. His partner,
not so much.
Angelo Dawkins or whatever, he's gotten better. I will give him that. Like I enjoy him more now with the Street Profits now than I have before, but he don't got it at the top.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you play video games?
I do. Red Dead Redemption has been killing my life.
Okay. Do you know SNK, the video game developer SNK?
Oh yeah. I was a King of Fighters, Fatal Fury.
Thank you. So you just said that. Angelo Dawkins, does he not remind you of Lucky Glauber from the basketball King of Fighters, like the fighting game?
Yep. Yeah.
And for those that don't know who we're talking about, look at Angelo Dawkins, then look up Lucky Glauber, Glauber.
Yeah.
Embodiment of that character, just a little thicker than that guy.
Because like, especially when he first came on the scene and he was dressing like how these young, like 15, 16-year-old dudes are. And I was like, my guy, you are way too old to be dressing like this. Mm-hmm. This gimmick is very time sensitive and you have already aged out of it. So yeah, but no, definitely can definitely see the Lucky Glover. Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm
So
mad
I just
that
wanted
I
to
knew
throw
who
that
it was right off the bat.
Right.
But
That's why I just wanted to throw that out there because that's all I see when I see Angelo Dawkins. But Montez Ford, definitely somebody, and I'm gonna sound like what's that guy, Mel Kiper? A lot of upside.
Yeah.
Very athletic in the ring, very connectability is good. I mean connectivity. He can connect to an audience. Just with the think about this dude with the solo cups.
Just with the solo cup alone, right?
They have ascended because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, they're just going to be Crime Time 2.0." No, they're not.
Nah.
Well, at least not Montez Ford isn't going to be, because there is something to be said about bringing up Bianca and him as a power couple,
right?
Sort of like Miz and Maurice,
right?
Cocky, athletic.
Yep.
Think about it, like if T.O. was a wrestler and they gave him his wife as a valet, like that would be the kind of get your popcorn ready type of talent that I can see popping off from your screen.
Right.
And they are homegrown talents. Those two are homegrown talents.
Absolutely. Like just looking at the roster right now of people that can ascend with the proper. So like you have the people that just have it innately, and then you have the folks where it is all going to depend on how they are booked. As we were saying, Bianca Belair, they have innate talent, right? Montez Ford, innate talent. Mia Yim, she's not homegrown per se, I guess, but she has that innate talent already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Shayna Baszler, innate talent. When she first came over, I'm not really a fan of her as a person or Rousey, just from my MMA fandom and knowing the type of people that they are because of that, didn't really like them. Shayna Baszler is one of the best pro wrestlers in the game right now. She had that innate, it was already there. It just had to be polished properly, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Velveteen Dream, another one that is essentially homegrown, has it in spades. Like his ring talent has to catch up to his mic work, but he's still really good. Just have that. Another one, Otis Dozovich. He has that innate thing going on where it's like
fun.
He gets in the ring and it's like, that dude is fun. He is fun and I like it. And then you have like the folks like Keith Lee. I like Keith Lee. I think he's great. But
you and I have our fears about Keith Lee.
Yeah, Keith Lee is one of those people where it's all going to depend on the booking. If they don't book him properly, he's going to just turn into another, BC level star. Aaliyah, I know she doesn't win anything. But there's the potential there. If they for instance, right? Say they took Arya Davari, right? Because they had somebody brought it up on Twitter and it was like, it clicked. It was like, oh shit. They brought Arya Davari and her as a wrestler and valet, kind of like how they have with Cien and Zelina.
Yes.
They could be amazing. And she's talented enough to where she could survive as a active part of the women's roster on either of the brands, right? But then there's a whole bunch of other people down in NXT where it's like, yeah, you're just gonna die down here, because another person that actually has it that he is so underrated, Kyle O'Reilly.
Oh, dude, yes,
Kyle O'Reilly is low key one of the best things going on, and I think it's because he has training in like martial arts as well, that he understands the whole thing of, like we were saying, he sells fatigue. He sells getting hit properly, because let's think, if you've never taken a punch or if you've never trained and hit people, like you don't know how the body reacts, right?
Right.
So like when you get spiked on the head, you don't come back roaring, clear-headed. No. When your bell gets rung, it's for real. There is a ringing sound, and everything's hazy, and everything's out of focus. He does that really well. Like he had one of the moments during, I want to say it was like maybe War Games or something like, or one of the tag team matches where like they suplexed him and he got back up and was like, nope, and like fainted. It's like little stuff like that where it's like he gets it, and this is where I was saying earlier about like, is this really combat theater anymore? Because when you take away the aspects of combat itself, fatigue is one of the biggest things, right? And there's a quote: "Fatigues make cowards out of men." That is real. That happens during matches. You could be the best fighter in the world, but if you get beat up enough and it goes long enough, fatigue sets in. Well, and when you have something like this where you're doing something, especially with some of their styles where it's so, flippity, that takes a lot of energy.
Flippity floppity floob. Exactly.
Yeah. And when you're not selling that you've been giving up energy doing this, it's like, what was the point of this? Like, it's not combat anymore.
Yeah. I'm going to share a quick Kyle O'Reilly story and why his name is important to me. Mm-hmm. So if you follow my former podcast or any broadcast I've done, anybody out there, I went to go see a Ring of Honor, what amounted to a house show back in 2016, back in New York, back in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And the match that pulled me back in, because I had not been to an independent show since old school ECW. Exactly. So here I am sitting in Keyspan Park, Brooklyn Cyclone Stadium, for anyone who's from New York. And who is this Kyle O'Reilly dude? I'm thinking, all right, he don't look like anyone I've ever seen before.
Right.
He just looks like a generic wrestler number 6.
Right.
Now, who he wound up wrestling that night wound up being one of my favorites of all time after the fact was Shibata.
Yeah.
So just let me just put that out there. Shibata versus Kyle O'Reilly. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know them both, and we talked off air about, you could strong style your shit into a CTE, and that essentially Shibata is probably going to have that one day, and I hope it doesn't. But
oh no, he already has it. There is you can't have a brain injury that like how he had and not have it.
But that match is what pulled me back into independent wrestling in the first place, because you referenced combat fatigue. They went at it for what seemed to be 20 minutes, and they sold the beatdowns as if they had been in a gang fight.
Right.
And by the end of it, it ended with ref stoppage as a draw, I believe. So, or it was awarded to Kyle O'Reilly because Shibata couldn't get up or answer the bell, so to speak. Right. Now, going back to NXT, Kyle O'Reilly has gone from, I guess, do you remember Charles Wright before he was the Godfather? They booked him as Kama.
Yep.
The
Kama Mustafa
fighting machine.
Yep.
That's all I thought Kyle O'Reilly was when I first saw him.
Right.
Give him a belt and he's playing air guitar, showing personality, even though, and here's the thing about,
he's not even speaking. That's the crazy part. It's all facial reactions.
It's all facial expressions and reactions. And I think personally, I've called Undisputed Era this. I've called them the jock table that hasn't graduated in 10 years of trying, because they all seem like the jocks you'd want to punch in the face.
Right.
Especially Roderick Strong. He's doing a good job of being the one jock dude you want to beat the shit out of.
Oh yeah, he is the ultimate douche nozzle. Yes.
Yeah. But Kyle O'Reilly is Biff, essentially, from back to the future. And I love it. So you know what? You're right. Kyle O'Reilly, since he's came to NXT, I can say as a complete performer, definitely has it, like we're talking about.
Right. Like he has those intangibles. And a lot of times, because we didn't know this on the indies, that he could do this. We didn't know this aspect of his personality or this hidden skill, right? We knew that he could have amazing matches, but we did not know that he could be this, right? So like it's and that's one of the things that I like. That's why I always say NXT is a great thing, because you have some folks that come there and now they have that opportunity to show different aspects of their personality. Some people are never going to be able to achieve these things. Some people have that hidden.
So let's tie this up in a little bow in terms of the state of wrestling now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take blood money out of the situation. Let's
Yep.
throw, the pay-per-view that shall not be named. We'll throw that over there.
Right.
We're coming off the heels of the first ever women's pay-per-view in WWE history, not because I've been in other promotions, shout out to Battle Club, that they've done all women's shows before.
Right.
I know Booker T's promotion does all women's show.
Right.
Queens of Combat is another one that does all women's shows.
Right.
Shimmer, Shine, and the like.
Right.
We are coming off, especially when it comes, like you said at the beginning of the broadcast, representation matters.
Very much so.
We are seeing wrestlers that look like you and me, and I do not count No Way Jose in that situation. But,
no
but it is refreshing. It's refreshing.
Yep.
To see, because I was a Savio Vega guy back in the day.
Same, bruh. Same.
Because he could go.
Yeah.
Wrestlers from Puerto Rico, if you don't know, shout out, by the way, we talked about it off air. Shout out to LAX.
LAX, bruh. LAX is the best tag team in pro wrestling outside of the WWE right now.
Not even close. It's not even close.
And it's not close. You can't argue with me. If you want to argue, go argue with your mom. There's nothing to talk about. It's great. It's great. They are amazing. Plus, I have a ridiculous crush on Diamante, but that's besides the point.
We talked about that.
But
you like them Cuban women, bro.
Man, yeah. But as far as talent goes, promos, got it. Personality, got it.
Got it.
Moves, got it. Can sell, and that's the key. Can sell getting beat up, got it. Mm-hmm. They had everything. Damn it, man. They have everything.
I know. That's why I'm so glad to being able to work against the Bucks on the Jericho Cruise.
Which sausage fest.
Yeah, we knew that going into it, but just it is good to see representation in professional wrestling that isn't, as you said before, and as you and I have talked about, the status quo. They all don't look like the Ultimate Warrior anymore. Right. They don't look like Hogan. They don't look. Shoot, there's a lot of people looking more like the one-man gang. Yeah.
They have normal body sizes.
Exactly.
They're athletes. They are athletes. I take issue with the athletes thing in pro wrestling, right? Because for me, I consider athletes people that play sports, right?
Okay.
Professional wrestling is not a sport. It's just not.
Okay, but would you say it takes athleticism?
Yes, they have there are people that are very athletic. Like Bianca Belair, she's an athlete because she was an athlete, right? You had the people that actually played sports. Yes, I consider them athletes, so on and so forth. But I don't know how folks be like, oh, well, and I love the sport of pro wrestling. It's not a sport because there's no competition. It's the bookers pick who's going to win.
Right.
When that happens, it's not a sport.
So the letter of the law, yeah, you're right. It's not a sport, obviously.
It is not a sport, yeah. But that's just my personal thing. When I hear folks like it's a sport. It's not. It simply is not a sport. It is theater.
Sports theater, as we like to say.
Yes.
Sports theater. So before we get out of here, and for those who are just tuning in, you're listening to the Podcast Champs with your boy Damien Salty G, along with DEO. We try to do this show every 2 weeks or so and see what happens. And we pretty much just hot take all over the place with a smattering of coherent thought, because we are actually two of the more coherent wrestling fans that have a podcast or a broadcast. But going forward, off the heels of Evolution, off the heels of us talking about representation being more prevalent in wrestling,
right?
What will be the state of wrestling, in your opinion, 2 years from now?
2 years from now, this really depends on if Vince dies or not. Be truthful, because he is everything. Pro wrestling is the only place where the trickle down effect actually is true, because you only have one person at the top of the mountain, and essentially his shit feeds everybody else that's below him. Right? You have an industry that is all under, essentially, especially in the Western part of the world, it's all kind of based off. Now, that being said, And there's a lot of factors to this too, right? And as much as we want to take the Blood Money pay-per-view out of the equation, we can't, because it's a 10-year deal. And now these are going to be major events where major things take place. So there's one with that. I think they're going to have to put more emphasis on women in the WWE. They've started sowing the seeds again of the women's tag team division, with Tamina and Nia being the latest two people to seem like they're going to form a team. Right. Bailey and Sasha. So like, they're going to have to put more emphasis on that if they're going to have a men's only pay-per-view in Saudi once or twice a year, probably now, right?
Yes, twice a year.
Mm-hmm. So now you're going to have to. So I think this is, even though them doing propaganda for Saudi Arabia is horrible, there is the silver lining of women getting more attention because they're going to have their own shows. The one thing that I was not happy about Evolution was it felt like a house show.
Oh, yeah, without question.
It did not feel like an actual pay-per-view event. It didn't feel like they actually put their all into it. This had lower quality production value than a Raw or a SmackDown. Mm-hmm. That's not good.
It felt production-wise like Saturday night's main event.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. But they're going to have to change that. So as far as that goes, I think now that you have so many people, like, there's going to be this stage for women up at the top. And you're seeing more men of color and women of color coming into pro wrestling because now they've seen more men and women of color into pro wrestling. Yeah. And like, I hate to make this such a race thing, but it is, right? Because for the longest time, pro wrestling was predominantly white men.
Yes.
On all the rosters, it was predominantly white men, not white men and white women, predominantly white men. So now that you have these people coming from all walks of life, you have people that are Albanian, you have people coming from different parts of, North America. They just signed like a 7-foot some odd like Nigerian guy.
I saw him.
Oh, he looks evil. Period. Like, he looks like he sleeps on rocks, and like it's amazing. Like, they just have to keep him a heel his whole career. I'm sorry, but like, you have all these different things, and like, now it looks like they might, like, a lot of these kids that when I was growing up, we loved pro wrestling, right?
Yes.
And like, say for instance, like in the hood, like, you know how you had those kids in the hood that could do like full like backhand spring, triple backflips and all that stuff and land it flush every single time like it was nothing. Mm-hmm. Those people are starting to see that those people are going to start coming into pro wrestling. Like a Lacey Lane, right? She's one of those people. Absolutely. Like, and I love the fact that she's willing to mess up trying something new.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite things in the Mae Young Classic. Yeah, she botched, but still, she tried it, and it's something new that you don't really see women doing.
Right.
So, like, I think we are going to see a, no pun intended, evolution when it comes to women in pro wrestling. Just because you see more people are flowing into it, right? Like, every time I go on Twitter, it's like, oh man, like, who's this new person? Oh, who's this new person? Oh, shout out to Hoke. Like, he has put so many people on to new talent. Like, he is like the A&R of pro wrestling.
Oh,
like, he is
a great description.
He is the top A&R of professional wrestling. Also, shout out to Total Divas Eps, because between those two best A&Rs in pro wrestling, period. Like, a lot of us has gotten into stuff that's in Japan, like Tokyo, Japan women's wrestling, like TJPW, bruh. The character work that they have going on there is amazing. Like, it is.
For those that don't know, because I didn't know when we talked about this on Twitter about a week ago.
Oh yeah.
What is TJPW?
TJPW is basically like it's under the umbrella of DDT Pro, and so you have TJPW, and then there is what is it? The other. There's another all women's promotion in. Oh my god!
You're not talking about Stardom.
Yeah, Stardom. There you go. I was like Starlight Kid. Yeah. So like you have these. One is more of a performance based in Stardom, which you have some amazing performers there. That is where Io Shirai, who during the Mae Young,
they had get me started.
They had the governor on her the whole time, but at Evolution they took the governor off, and you got to see Io Shirai in like her true form, right?
Yes.
So Stardom, that's where Io Shirai came from. You have a lot of amazingly talented women that are over there. You have a lot of your women's indie faves from America go over there. Like right now, Priscilla Kelly is over there. She's in TJPW, if I remember correctly. Okay. Like TJPW, they have a zombie. So there's a zombie. There is a woman who is like, they call her a bunny because she like in the face, she looks like a bunny. This is not like I'm not trying to like say she's ugly or anything like that. But like when you see her, when she smiles, it's like, oh, okay, I see it. I see why they call her. And plus she like just does double stomps all the time.
Can I get a name for this bunny person so I can look them up right now?
She is...
Was it Bunny Girl?
It's Mizuki. I forgot the full, but yeah. So it's at MIZUPYON3. But yeah, like she might weigh like maybe 92 pounds, but her double stomps look like death. Like it is amazing. There's a magical girl who comes through in like Aladdin pants and just does the most ridiculous like dives. You have they call her like she's like the small kaiju, so she comes in like monster costume. Then there's like
God, I just seen it. Dude.
And
I wish I could say he was lying.
Right, but it's not like a bad thing. She's just
she
cute.
Does look like a woodland creature.
She's adorable. But like then you have like, so my favorite is Maki Ito. She's a former. No, that is Yamashita. She is the ace. She is she has the coolest entrance in pro wrestling. Maki Ito is a former pop idol, actually. Didn't pan out for her there, but she has put everything into pro wrestling. She just had a match with Meiko Satomura, and like they have like some long-standing, like essentially like kind of like notice me senpai type of thing going on, but it's like super emotional. She does character work really well. Like her whole thing is that her head is basically unbreakable. So like a lot of headbutts, a lot of falling headbutts. It's so good. But like I said, though, between those two people, Hokai, Total Divas Eps, happy belated birthday to Total Divas Eps. They have shown so many of us stuff that we had never seen before, right? And as far as like the full-blown state of pro wrestling goes and how it's going to go in the future, as long as you still have stuff like this going on and you still have people sharing content, which tangent really quickly, New Japan shooting themselves in the foot right now because they're going after all of the GIF accounts.
Okay.
Basically saying you can't show this, you can't show that, you can't show this, you can't show that. They got a couple of them shut down. And it's like, wait a minute. You guys do not understand, but that if it was not for them, most of us wouldn't have even paid for your subscription service.
Right.
Most of us had no idea that New Japan was going on for a long time. But you start seeing these GIFs of different people and all the crazy stuff going on. They're like, oh shit. And it's about the same as the network. Sure, I'll give it a try. That's where most of your like these people are essentially like the word of mouth of what it used to be. But now people actually get to see, and New Japan is actively going after them, saying that you guys can't show this stuff anymore. It's like, all right, well, when you see a dip in your subscriptions, that would be why.
As long as they don't come for Hokai, I'll be okay.
Right. But yeah, like as long as you have those things going on, you have these essentially pro wrestling A&Rs, as I'm calling them. As long as you have,
for those that don't know, what does A&R stand for, sir?
Actually, what does artists and what does A&R stand for? I forgot what it means.
Look at that. We throwing around terms and we don't even know.
Oh yeah. So it's artist and no, because I would have never remembered artist and repertoire. But that is so an A&R is basically the people that go out and talent scout for record labels, right? I don't even you could probably go and ask somebody in the industry. They probably wouldn't even know what the R part is in A&R because nobody says repertoire anymore. But I so
good word.
It is. Gotta love those SAT words. But yeah, so like as long as you have those people, as long as you have a platform where people are striving, so like it wasn't a completely sold out show for Evolution, but enough people showed up in force where it was like, okay, we can have this many people here just for women. Ooh, this is something, right? Mm-hmm. And especially with the whole blood money thing, now you have to give them shows. So with those things going on, I think things are going to go in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Once the indies get bled again, so that new people can come and, take place. So since we were just talking about Stardom, right? Io Shirai was the top of that for the longest time. And she was essentially like the unbeatable person. Now that she's gone, her protege essentially has just blossomed since she's left. Starlight Kid, another one. She's like a lot of these people, once you no longer, like once that, it creates a power vacuum. Once that the people at the top are gone, people have to fill those spots.
Right.
And people are either going to sink or swim. And more often than not, you're going to have somebody that's going to transform and become something amazing. So once they bleed the indies, you're going to see a lot of people start to shine again. Hopefully our guy Hangman Page actually shows up to NXT soon.
Man, listen, I saw today that he is no longer affiliated with the Bullet Club, apparently. So I don't want to feed into anything, but if that means what I think it means.
I hope he is the most talented person. He is the most talented all-around person in the elite right now.
Oh, without question.
Like I know y'all like to like beat your dicks to Kenny Omega, but like just being real, like if you took away the Bullet Club stuff, Hangman Page is dope.
And I'm not gonna lie. That same show where I saw Kyle versus Shibata, first words out my mouth were, "Who is this dorky looking dude?" Referencing Hangman Page. I'm like, who is this fake outlaw Ron Bass looking motherfucker?
Right, but he has turned into something amazing. Yep. Hopefully he continues keeping the tan situation right, because when he got that bad tan that one time, that was hilarious. But yeah, like as bleed the indies. So as long as certain things happen, the indies get bled. The WWE continues giving women a platform that they deserve. They have some of the most rabid fan bases on Twitter and Instagram. Yes. Like those people will go to war for them. And this is the thing that I never understood, that why the WWE does not understand this. Same thing for the indies too. Women probably have the most buying power of any group.
This is
when
true.
It comes to things. And for some reason, nobody wants to market to them. Like the women's shirts always look like trash in WWE for the most part. Right. You go to the indies, female wrestlers only have like, they won't have nearly as many people giving, wanting to do fan art and stuff like that for them, for their shirts. And the shirts always look like that is as long as you have these larger platforms, people are going to will buy. If you build it, they will come.
Well, no, and this is where I'll jump in with my state of the wrestling union kind of thing. I have made no secret that I am a ardent women's wrestling fan. And I don't want to sit here and say I'm the right fan versus the wrong fan, but you know this, D. You know I love women's wrestling for the athleticism, for the fact that a lot of them could do it better than the men can. Period. If not, the vast majority of them can. Shout out to Jordan Grace, who's going to finally appear on Impact.
On network TV. Impact is doing amazing things right now, too. It sucks that they're probably going to be off that channel within the next 6 or 7 months, but damn it, they're doing the right stuff.
But for now, they're doing justice. And as a women's wrestling fan, and I'm going on next weekend, I'm going to Booker T's show where it's Ladies Night Out, I think. I believe that's the title. Battle Club, again, puts out women's performances. Shimmer, shine. If you ask me in 2 years where the wrestling landscape will be, I will say women's wrestling will be even more at the forefront because of the fans who want to see professional women's wrestling. I honestly believe, and I think I said this to Melissa once or twice, Luna Vachon, if she was active today, she would be a lot more appreciated, I should say, in the annals of women's wrestling history than she currently is.
Absolutely. Luna Vachon was so far ahead of her time.
Yes.
Like, she set the stage for the Ruby Riots. She set the stage for the Priscilla Kellys, for the Shotzi Blacks, for the Jessica Havocks. She set the stage for all of the people that came with the odd, that were the others of society. And she was solid in the ring too, which is one of the things that people forget because all they got to see was her in WWF when she was with the Oddities.
Right. And I guess if you want to go back and look it up on YouTube, I'm sure you can find some sort of Luna Vachon matches that were pre-WWE where women actually had time to work, a 10 to 15 minute match. But
before Moolah Vachon, or before Moolah decided to women's wrestling.
To pimp out women's wrestling. But 2 years time, I honestly believe we're not even going to be talking about women main eventing pay-per-views. I think in 2 years time, women are going to be outdrawing in wrestling. Have the potential to outdraw the men in terms of merch, like you said before, in terms of the box office.
Absolutely.
Now, am I going to sit here and say they're going to do Mania? I don't know. But do I see a big four pay-per-view? Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's where in 2 years, that's where I stand. I stand that women's wrestling will be an even bigger, especially with Becky Lynch now, where they finally have let her off the hook and said, go get them.
And she is killing it.
Right. And maybe we're 2 steps away from intergender wrestling in WWE. I don't know. But I enjoy having her in her full character because it's Rebecca Quinn. It's not even Becky Lynch.
Right.
She has always had this belief in herself. Kevin Dunn and them just never let her do it.
But her accent's not good. Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, her accent's too thick. We can't let her talk.
Oh, she doesn't have the right look. Says the man that looks like Kevin Dunn.
Yeah. Says Kevin Dunn, who looks how Kevin Dunn looks.
Yes.
But I'll leave that there. Toe. Yeah, I know. I'll leave that there. And I think that's the perfect time for us to wrap up because he looks like a pinky toe is the best way to wrap up this episode of Podcast Champs. You can find Dio on Twitter at what? I'm just DEO?
Still, I'm just DEO. Yep.
You haven't changed it yet, man?
Nah, it's going to stay that way because I'm just DEO. It'll stay that way for a while.
That works for me. And I'm Damien G347. Damien Gross. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm here because you all wanted me here to come back. A lot of people were asking me since I moved to Dallas when I was going to come back. You and I have talked off air about what it took for me to get here, but I'm back and Dio and I will try to do as many shows as we can, but it's good to be back. And as always, without you, there is no us. So we'll see you next time, folks.
Later. Quick. So it's at Total Divas Eps on Twitter. And at JOCAY19 on Twitter. Those
Hawkeye
are the
19.
two. Hawkeye 19. These are the people that you want to follow if you want to see everything that is going on in the Indies, in Japan, and in Mexico, especially with Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, no. And I used to like Mr. Lariotto too. He was another one that used to.
Oh yeah, he's still there, but he keeps on. They keep on. He was one of the casualties of New Japan Wrestling.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Peace.